Good evening. I welcome you to this July 20th meeting of the Paducah Planning and Zoning Commission. This is our first in-person meeting that we've had in 4 months, and we appreciate you being here. Now, if you'll join us as we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Mr. Summer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Benberry, Mr. Bradford,
Here.
Mr. Morrison,
Here.
Ms. Pollard,
Here.
Ms. Shramke, Mr. Wade,
Here.
Chair Casillas.
Here. Mr. Morrison, I believe you have the minutes motion, please.
Yes, ma'am. I move that the reading of the minutes for June 15th, 2020 be waived and that the minutes of said meeting as prepared by the secretary be approved as written.
Second.
Second by Pollard. Are there any corrections, additions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Ms. Pollard,
Aye.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye. Mr. Wade, you have the first item of business, which is to remove from the table.
I move that this commission remove from the table case number ZON 2019-248 pertaining to 5154 Village Square Drive and 2690 Olivet Church Road. I further move that the case be renumerated as TXT 2020-076 for consideration of a text amendment.
Second.
Second by Morrison.
This case stemmed out of a proposed zone change some time ago in the mixed-use zone. We quickly discovered there was no regulations for an opportunity for electronic message signs to be implemented in that zone. So thanks to coronavirus, things got put on hold, but we have prepared for you all for your consideration a text amendment which to allow those in the mixed-use zone. And this is pretty much standard for places of worship in residential zones. There is a different caveat to it, is that they shall not flash, change, or move from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Questions, comments?
Mr. Summer, where'd we come up with the 11 to 5 a.m.? Is that kind of standard across the Commonwealth, or?
Yes, and since the mixed-use zone can also contain residential structures
Right.
in close proximity, we didn't want that to be a hindrance.
I was just thinking about the time element,
Mhm.
10 versus 11 versus.
Right, during summertime, places are open 10, 10:30, so.
This motion is just to remove it from the table, right?
Yes.
Currently,
we've
that's
been-
removed from the table. Mhm. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Wade,
Aye. Oh, we'd already done
We're
that.
voting to remove from the table.
Okay, I get lost.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Ms. Pollard,
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye.
Now,
Now,
I move that this commission adopt a resolution recommending to the Board of Commissioners that Section 126-76 of the Paducah Zoning Code be amended and adopted in accordance with Exhibit I. I guess that should be Exhibit 1.
Second.
second by Morrison.
My only question, Josh, is based on what the original petitioner was seeking to do, are they able to do that based on this?
This will allow them
Yes.
to do what they wanted to do.
They will need to come to you all for permission for the sign.
Okay, I don't recall what the size of the sign was or any of the,
They was removing a sign cabinet and going to replace it in that within these parameters, but they would still have to bring that back to you all
Sure.
for approval.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Morrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pollard?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. Mr. Bradford, you have the City of Paducah zone text amendment.
Yes.
First to remove from the table.
I have a motion to remove it from the table.
Yes.
I move that this commission remove from the table application TXT 2020-006 pertaining to section 126-176 of the Paducah zoning ordinance.
Second.
Second by Pollard. Again, this is an item that's been lingering out there for a while, so I'm glad to get this taken care of. Are there any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Morrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pollard?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. Now you have the zone text amendment.
I move that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending to the Board of Commissioners that section 126-176 of the Paducah zoning code be amended and adopted in accordance with Exhibit A.
Second.
Second by Pollard.
Our Director, Tamara Tracy, will be addressing this one.
Good evening and welcome back, at least for tonight's meeting.
Yeah, at least for tonight's
We might
meeting.
not be able to continue this, but
I know.
the reason why I wanted to take the time to go over this is because this particular amendment takes a whole section, and we've looked at it, and we've made the major amendment, which was our purpose, to go to allow the Planning Commission's recommendation to be the final adopted recommendation on an application unless the Board of Commissioners calls it up for a hearing. So it kind of switches the default from approval of your recommendation, and that's the default answer, as opposed to the default answer is not that recommendation. So, that's the primary focus and purpose of getting into this particular section. But once we're in that section, amending an ordinance doesn't happen very often, or shouldn't anyway. And so we wanted to take the time to correct any other errors or make it a little bit more user-friendly. And so in addition to that primary intent of changing the rezoning process, I wanted to address a couple other changes that we are doing to this. And the first and foremost is we're changing the name of this section to Planning Commission, so that people know that where to find things, because the way it was named, it was not very intuitive. And we also wanted to take the opportunity to codify something that staff has been piloting for almost a year now, and that is an expanded length of time on notices. Because 14 days in our modern world, particularly with Paducah not handling its own mail service anymore, going to Evansville, it takes longer. And so we wanted to add enough time in there so that people had a reasonable amount of time to react to something that potentially could profoundly affect their property and the property values. Everyone goes on vacation, so we thought at least having more than a week's notice would give somebody a fighting chance. So we did want to expand that and put this into the zoning code. And then finally, we just cleaned up a lot of references to city commission or commission when they really meant Board of Commissioners, because the commission is supposed to be reserved for Planning Commission references. And over time and such, it gets a little muddled, and so we wanted to clarify that and be sure that the appropriate agency was being referenced. And we also wanted to bring in some labeling and heading to make it a little more easier for the general public to understand. This, in general, we like to follow the kind of the plain language guidance that was and has been adopted for a number of years, both nationally and more throughout the Commonwealth as well. So we kind of wanted to simplify the language. But the real meaningful change is in the notice and in the process in which that rezoning is approved. And we want to put the default upon you all, as opposed to the reverse of that.
I think it's also important to note that you did put in here that there's an avenue for redress if someone comes before the Planning Commission and they're not happy with our decision. They have, I believe, 21 days?
21 days.
To appeal to the Board of Commissioners, City
Right.
Commission, for them to hear. So there is an avenue for redress.
Yes, and they do not have to have a reason, so they didn't have to be a good or bad reason or anything like that. All they have to do is put it in writing, I want a hearing, and it goes. But that doesn't happen very often, and so for most people, for most applicants, this will save 3 to 4 weeks in their time that they have an application on file. And that 3 to 4 weeks, time's money. And they can be moving on with another step in the development process. So we do hope that you find favor with this and would recommend passing it along to the Board of Commissioners with a positive recommendation.
I could tell there's quite a bit of thought that went through
Yes.
by staff to do this, so
Absolutely.
good job.
Thanks.
Yeah. And it was very much simplified, which I appreciated, because before there was a lot of language that, well, it was kind of like legalese. So it was so much better to have a document that most people can relate to.
Yes, and now that we've got these two under our belt, you could probably look for more.
Yay!
Each section as it goes.
I know that's the plan, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But with that, these were very straightforward. Those further ones will definitely be engaging you pre-hearing status. So look for that in addition there too, probably in the next couple of months.
Great.
So, well, depending on how the COVID thing goes.
Yes, exactly. Are there any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Morrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pollard?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Chair Crecilius?
Aye.
Thank you.
Ms. Pollard, I believe you have the next item of business.
I move that this commission not adopt a resolution approving the amendment to a development plan for the property located at 900 North 32nd Street. I further move that the following finds of fact be made in support of said denial. The largest sign located on the site in the past has been 50 square feet, which provides adequate visibility. Single-family homes are located on the south and east of the site, and a larger sign would disrupt the residential character. Large signs, such as the proposed, are typically located on major arteries, and North 32nd is a minor arterial intended to connect Midtown to Park Avenue and serve the nearby residential area. There is no competition from other signs in the vicinity. The business on this site is a destination in itself, as opposed to a motorist deciding which business to patronize based on signage.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Morrison.
I have a lot of questions, though.
Go ahead, please.
Okay,
Yes. Is this a picture of the sign?
that's
Putting
the
up?
existing.
That's the existing one, so no problem with this one.
No.
Okay. And how does this new sign compare with what they had just down the road?
Well, it's going to be placed on the same poles with lights hanging over the top. It would be in the same location, which is be about 13 feet off the right-of-way.
Are you talking about the current
Oh, currently?
request?
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is, they were just, a city block down the street. I can't remember, unfortunately, I can't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
how big that sign was.
That I don't know, because that's in a B1 zone, convenience and service zone,
Okay,
where
so
it's
it's a different
principally
zone.
permitted, yeah. And that's where.
You answered my question.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Some of staff's concerns are laid out in the findings of fact, as we're all familiar with this area of town, that it is very residential on the south side and on the east side. The largest sign that has been there in the past that we could find was 50 feet, and there's been variations of 40 feet in the past, 30 square feet. Now, the proposed sign is 104 square feet. Now, that's without the reader board. They are taking that away. However, normally signs of that size, you're thinking Park Avenue, Irvin Cobb Drive, Hinkville Road, those locations, and not necessarily on a minor arterial that we have here. So staff is recommended denial based on these findings of fact, but I'd be glad to answer any questions that you all have, and I believe the petitioners are here, and I think also a resident in the
Is this a
neighborhood.
scale?
No, that is the proposed. That would be 104 square feet.
But you said this part is going
This
away?
part's going away?
That is going away.
And the current signage is
It
40 or 50
That
without
fits
that reader
inside.
board?
Yes,
And then how big is that reader board? How many square feet?
8.
It's 8 square feet? Okay.
Oh, it says 16, is it 16 or 8?
Yeah, 16.
Oh, 16, I'm sorry.
It's the changeable
16.
16 square feet.
So in effect, we're 50 plus 16 would be 66, going to 104.
I mean, basically, he's just going to the outside of the post across the top. That's
Oh,
what I
okay.
figured out. He's just filling in that.
So just to be clear, what they already have is not principally permitted in the zone that they are in.
Correct.
So they've already had, in the past, a waiver from those requirements, and now they want to go bigger.
It's not necessarily a waiver from the requirements.
Yeah.
It's an approval
Yeah.
from you all. Because it's a planned unit development, there's no hard and fast rules that necessarily pertains to signage.
I'd like to hear from the owners, the applicant, why their, I guess, reasoning besides wanting a larger sign. We could. No, applicant not here.
Apparently not.
Is there a homeowner here?
Thought so. Yes.
Please come up to the microphone if you'd like to speak.
You're a homeowner in the neighborhood? Yes. If you would like to speak, please.
I'll just keep it simple. I just think what they have is sufficient.
Would you identify yourself?
My name is Sonia Thompson. I live at 811 Levin Avenue, which is directly behind. It's adjacent to their property.
Thank you.
And I feel like the sign that they have is sufficient.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's no one here representing Strickland?
Strickland?
No, I thought there was, but must be mistaken.
Yeah,
Did they give staff any indication of the
they would be here.
purpose for replacing it?
Right.
just for better visibility. What they've laid out in their application is all that we had to go on, and we did have some email conversations back and forth, nailing down the exact size, and they did get their notice, so they knew when tonight's meeting was.
Answers my question.
So the current sign is 40 square feet, and that does not include the, what did you call the,
Changeable copy
Changeable
sign?
Yes.
copy.
it doesn't include that?
Does not include that.
Would that normally be included in the sign dimensions?
Normally, yes.
So are they out of compliance currently of the 40 or 50 square foot approval?
No, because Planning Commission gave them that approval.
For 40 or 50, but if it's, like, for instance, if the current sign is 40 square feet plus the changeable part being 16 square feet, that's 56 square feet?
Right, Planning Commission approved the reader board. as well.
Okay. So that's not necessarily included in the,
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
What's there now is Planning Commission had approved the whole thing.
okay.
And is that with the lighting as we see it in this picture?
I'm not sure about the lighting, Mr. Morrison. The only thing that I found in the past permits was just the face of the sign.
Okay.
Was the sign approved when another restaurant was there, or was the sign approved when Martha's Vineyard was there?
2009,
Okay,
so it was the previous restaurant.
okay, okay.
Yes, Planning Commission did
Russell's.
approve the previous restaurant as well.
Okay.
And it's always been a restaurant of one sort or another?
Well,
More or less.
I guess you could say that. Martha's Vineyard was there for a while,
Martha's Vineyard was no.
which wasn't really a
restaurant.
restaurant, but it was kind of.
So
I
if
remember
the,
Russell's, but not the...
if the square footage that they currently have, including the changeable copy sign, were to be replaced by another sign of the same square footage, they would not need our approval, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
Okay.
But they've made no request as of today, other than this?
I've not heard from them today, no.
Okay.
I'm confused. The text of the staff report says that the new sign is proposed to be 104 square feet. The table that is on page 4 of our staff report says the proposed is 72 square feet.
Oop, missed that, yeah.
That is a misprint. The actual sign being applied for is 104 square feet. Because I did confirm that with the property owner.
And I guess just to be clear, 104 square feet is inclusive or exclusive of the sign, of the reader board?
The reader board's going away, so it would
Okay.
be
They're taking that down completely.
encompassing that.
In
Yeah.
the picture they sent, the reader board was still there. So I mean, I'm like you, was it 104 with or without the reader board?
Right.
I guess
Exactly.
they must have just taken a picture of the actual sign and then
then drew that
superimposed
over.
Yeah,
that new
put their new
Okay.
sign
one on
over
it
it.
without removing the reader board.
That is front and back, correct?
Both sides.
I hate to delay this any longer, because I see that this was received back in March, but COVID has delayed us. But I'm
And,
wondering if another meeting delay to hone in on these facts would not be prudent.
I don't think they're in a hurry, and here's why I say that, is because the applicant wanted to be, stated to me, that they would like to be in front of you all. So I'm quite surprised they're not here,
Yeah.
actually.
I hate to turn it down without hearing from them. at
Right,
least.
exactly. I think we need to hear their
Yeah.
input.
I move to table to the next regular meeting.
I'll second that.
Second by Pollard. Any
Josh, do
questions?
you think that's acceptable?
That'll be fine, and I'll be glad to let them know.
Okay.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Ms. Pollard,
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye. Mr. Morrison, you have the Walter Jeton Boulevard, Jeton Schoolhouse Limited Partnership.
Yes, ma'am. I move that the Planning Commission open the public hearing regarding cases ZON 2020-064 and VAR 2020-065 regarding 401 Walter Jeton Boulevard. I further move that the Planning Commission table cases ZON 2020-604 and VAR 2020-605 for a date certain meeting, said meeting to be on August 3rd, 2020.
Second.
Second by Wade.
And the reason that staff has asked for that to be tabled is the Board of Education is meeting tonight as well, so we can get a definitive answer on if and when they can use part of their parking.
It's fine.
We need to remember to bring this part of our packet again on August 3rd.
Yeah, I believe August 3rd will be virtual, so
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh.
we'll just hang on to it.
Yeah.
it'll be going back to that.
And is parking the main query?
Yes, they go hand in hand. We're in favor of the rezoning, but we would not want to see that move forward unless we knew for sure
That there was
where your
adequate
car is
parking.
going to go.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Are there any other questions? Again, it's a motion to open the public hearing and immediately table. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Ms. Pollard,
Aye.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye. Mr. Wade, you have the James Sanders Boulevard, Chandler Park.
I move that this commission receive and file the application of Chandler Park Paducah LLC and Falconite Real Estate Holdings LLC for the proposed re-subdivision of property located at 2550 and 2630 James Sanders Boulevard. I further move that the requested waiver of the public hearing and the dedication of streets be given and that approval of the submitted plat, file dated July 1, 2020, be granted.
Second.
Second by Pollard. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, this property, Falconite Real Estate recently sold the larger tract to Chandler Park. And to clean things up, part of that, the Falconite owns the property where the vet clinic is, and there's a portion of that detention area in the back. And so now that Chandler Park owns the majority of that detention area, it just seemed like it made a lot of sense between the two parties to clean that up and put that detention area all on the Chandler Park property. So that's the purpose of readjusting the property lines.
And Chandler will be responsible then for the entirety of the maintenance and upkeep
Exactly.
of that.
Are they planning on building more townhomes?
I do believe so. It's not sure the timing, but it is, that is the intent, I believe.
So all parties, I assume, are happy with this?
Yes.
Are there any other comments, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Ms. Pollard,
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye. Mr. Bradford, you have the Commerce Drive.
Yes. I move that this commission receive and file the application of the Paducah-McCracken County Industrial Development Authority for the proposed re-subdivision of property and establishment of ingress, egress, and waterline easements located at 5800 and 5802 Commerce Drive. I further move that the requested waiver of the public hearing and the dedication of streets be given, and that approval of the submitted plat be granted.
Second.
Second by Morrison.
Excuse me. You all may remember this property. We just did a zone change several weeks ago with IDA on the parent tract that this 1 acre tract is coming off of. The access easement the access to the property is coming through the county because this property sits on the city limits and coming off of Maxon Road. So We are establishing an easement for that, but it's not getting approved through your all's commission, being it's in the county.
Staff did have one comment that we made, which was to make sure that language was clear that the easements established in the county were not being done by this planning commission, that appropriate channels would have to be followed in the county, and that note has been added to the plat.
I think it's note 3 in general, note 2 in general notes there.
Would our approval be contingent upon the county, therefore not potentially creating a KRS 100 violation if the county decided to turn it down?
They do theirs a little bit different. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, the access easement, the IDA already owns the property and is signing off on the easement.
So that's going to happen?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it does not have to go through county planning.
Thank you.
I believe the people living on Maxon Road are in the county, am I right?
Yes, yes.
Have they been noticed?
No, there's nothing being, it's just an easement being established. There's no subdividing of properties.
Any other comments, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Morrison? Aye. Ms. Pollard?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Chair Casilius?
Aye. We thank you all for being here tonight. If there is no other business to come before the commission, we're adjourned.